Professor Zilnex had studied countless species across the galaxy, but nothing prepared her for what she witnessed on the human observation deck. Below, 300 human children engaged in what their educator had casually called recess. It looked like barely controlled chaos. It looked like war. Magnificent, isn't it? Principal Thompson stood beside her, sipping coffee while children screamed across the playground. Nothing like watching kids burn off energy. Zilnex's 4 eyes widened as a group of younglings organized themselves into opposing teams for something called Capture the Flag. They demonstrated tactical planning, terrain assessment, and coordinated strike patterns that would make her homeworld's military academies weep with envy. "This is play?" she asked, her translator struggling with the concept. "Of course. Kids need their recess. Helps them focus better in class." The Galactic Education Council had sent Zilnex to evaluate Earth's application for membership. Every species had unique teaching methods, but most focused on meditation, harmonics, or telepathic knowledge transfer. The humans, however, a small human female, no more than 7 years old, army-crawled through mud while her teammates provided covering distractions. She grabbed the flag and sprinted back, dodging and weaving as opponents tried to tag her. Her movement patterns matched those of trained special forces. "How young do they start this recess?" Zilnex asked. "Oh, as soon as they can walk steadily, usually around age 2 solar cycles old. Most species' offspring were still learning basic motor functions. Human toddlers were apparently practicing escape and evasion." Thompson noticed her concern. "Would you like to see the full breakdown of activities? I have the historical data here." The files made Zilnex's scales shift to a pale green of shock. Tag was pursuit predation training. Hide and seek developed stealth and tracking skills. Red Rover was a battlefield line-breaking exercise. Dodgeball was combat reflex conditioning. Even their hopscotch improved agility and spatial calculation under pressure. "These games," she said slowly, "they're military exercises." Thompson laughed. "Military? Professor, these are just traditional children's games. Been playing them for centuries." That was when it clicked. Humans hadn't intentionally created military training for their young. These games evolved naturally because human children instinctively practiced survival skills through play. Their entire species developed recreation around combat preparation. A bell rang. The children immediately stopped, formed orderly lines, and returned to the building. 300 little warriors transformed back into students in seconds, chattering about mathematics and story time. "Impressive discipline," Zilnex muttered. "They know they get another recess after lunch," Thompson explained. "Plus PE class, where we do organized sports." "Sports?" Zilnex pulled up her research, her display filled with human activities. Football, wrestling, martial arts, rugby. Entire cultural institutions built around competitive violence, teaching teamwork, strategy, and controlled aggression. "Principal Thompson," she said carefully, "are you aware that your educational system is accidentally creating the most effective soldiers in the galaxy?" Thompson shrugged. "We just want healthy kids who can work together and solve problems. Though now that you mention it, humanity does tend to do well in galactic conflicts despite being newcomers." Zilnex watched a group of 8-year-olds playing something called King of the Hill, where they battled for territorial control of a small mound. They formed alliances, betrayed each other, and adapted strategies in real time. "Your species doesn't train warriors," she said. "You raise them, from birth, as a baseline. Every kid plays these games," Thompson confirmed. "It's just part of growing up human." The implications staggered her. While other species carefully selected and trained their military forces, every single human child underwent continuous combat conditioning disguised as play. By adulthood, they had 2 decades of tactical training hardwired into their neural pathways. "I need to make a call," Zilnex said. The Galactic Education Council answered immediately. "Professor, your preliminary report? Recommend immediate approval for membership," she said, watching a game of Duck Duck Goose that was clearly patrol pattern disruption training. Also recommend adding humanity to the protected status list. Protected? But they're a newer species. Sir, they don't have a military training program. Their entire education system is one. Every human child on every human world spends multiple hours daily in combat simulation. They call it playing. Silence on the other end. Then, every child. Every single one. More silence. Application approved. Protected status granted. And professor? Perhaps research their adult recreational activities before your next report. Zilnex pulled up something humans called paintball. Her scales went completely white. Perhaps some knowledge was better left undiscovered.